We have a community submitted freestyle today from the homie Josh B. So we're going to check this out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me spit it one time. Off the top of mine, I'ma make this shit shine. Yeah, I'ma get my voice to broadcast. Someone hit up Harry Mack and get me on that podcast. Communication just like Comcast. When I grab the mic and I start spitting all these bomb raps. Yeah, and now I'm rolling down the hill. Meditation gotta get my mind so still. And now I'm growing like the tree, cause my vocab is strong when I'm spitting all these threes. And I ain't never gonna stop when I grab the microphone at that stage on my drop. And I'ma fucking pick it up, you know I'm gonna kick it. When I grab the microphone, I'm always fucking ripping. Every time I'm rhyming, it ain't no luck. Especially when I'm rolling right up in my truck. And yeah, and now I'm heading to the office. I wish someone was here to throw out some topics, cause I wanna spit some new flavor. Josh Breen on the mic, you know that I'm your saver. But when I...
Hey! So hell yeah. Dude, well done, my friend. Well done. Josh B on the mic. Really enjoyed that one. Thank you so much for the submission. Yeah, lots of great stuff going on, man. Very smooth delivery, very smooth rhythmic concept. Like your bars were in the pocket the whole time. And this is a note I've given to a lot of like previous submissions, is for people to work on really aiming the actual rhyming words to occur for starters, like at or near beat 4 in the measure, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, to put your rhyming words kind of consistently at or near beat 4. Obviously, that's not a rule, and I and every other great MC breaks that all the time. But as a starting point, to sort of build trust with your audience and demonstrate that like you've worked at your craft and you're actually in control of what you're doing, that's a great way to establish that trust with your audience, right? And shout out to Josh, because you're doing that consistently throughout. Like your couplets were super solid and strong, and I really like believed you. I was like, yo, this dude knows what he's doing. At no point was I like, oh, he's falling out of the pocket. Oh, it's getting a little sloppy. And that has its own charm too when you're doing an off-top freestyle, of course. But yeah, I mean, like top to bottom, it just felt like you had really solid command of the instrument, you know, which was really dope to hear. There was a really awesome like 4-bar rhyming phrase with podcast. I was like, damn, dude, bomb raps. I should have said that at some point. Because I always use Comcast and something else, but yeah, I think you had podcast, Comcast, broadcast, and bomb raps. I was like, what's he gonna do for the 4th one? And then you were like, wouldn't I bless him with these bomb raps? Oh shit, dude, that's fire. So yeah, that was really dope. And yeah, lots of really solid setup punchline, but also the inverse of that. I don't know if you would call it punchline setup or just free flowing, but you know, the opposite of setting it up and then going to the target, but like saying the thought first and then just having a dope rhyme for it on the other side is another really important skill. I don't know if I explain that, but like normally I talk about setup punchline, right? So if we're calling this coffee, then I would be like, off at the top, my flow's never sloppy. When I spit, I'm gonna wake you up like coffee. But then if we rewind, the inverse would be first I just say coffee and then I just go to some free associated dope rhyme. So like, yo, when I spit, I wake them up like coffee, never sloppy. Y'all need to back up off me, could be costly. So that's the opposite approach, which is also really valuable. Sometimes I feel like I talk about setup punchlines so much that I don't give enough credit to the other side of the equation, which is equally valuable and worth developing, right? And you want to have a mix of both. And I felt like Josh B did have a mix of both, because I heard when you were clearly setting up what you were doing, like you were talking about something, I don't remember the bar, but like something, and I never get stuck, especially when I'm driving in my truck. I was like, okay, that's setup punchline. You're in your truck and you know you want to say that, so you're setting it up. But then there was another time when you were like, because right now I'm just driving to the office. And I felt like that was just your idea and you were stating it, right? And then you went to, I wish I had somebody here to throw me topics. So I felt like that was not setup punchline, but the opposite, and still very coherent and made total sense. Like I get that when you're freestyling by yourself, you're just like repeating yourself a lot, relying on the same old licks. Like, damn, I wish I had somebody here to throw something out so I could really like stretch. But yeah, dude, that was killer, man. Really dope freestyle. And in terms of, I mean, I don't really have too much in terms of constructive criticism because I think you're just like, you're on your path, you know? So I guess what I would say is you could start exploring beyond now, because you've shown you have command of putting the rhyming word at or near beat 4. You can start stretching and exploring beyond that. What happens if you get a little looser with it and start putting the rhymes in other places? Like one thing that's cool is like in the first bar of a setup punchline, you can put the rhyming word early. And so rather than having a perfectly balanced setup punchline where it's like 50% here and 50% there, like in your regular rhyming couplet, it's like both lines are the same length. You can sort of take that center bar and like scrunch it. So now it's like there's 30% here and then 70% here. So that would be like, rather than saying, let's get a different word, we'll call this candle, because that's, I don't know what else you would call it. This is a candle. But when I spit, here's regular, 50-50. When I spit, I drop it heavy like an anvil, and my freestyle's lit like a candle. Both lines about the same. But what if you just shorten the first one and then put more information on the back half? So you'd say, like, bring you to a standstill. Cause every time I spit and rip, my flow is lit like a candle, make you understand. Cause when I rhyme on the MIC, I hold it tight up in my hand. So the first thing is just a little nugget, right? Like 30-70. So hopefully that makes sense. That's one thing you can experiment with. And then from there, like what happens if you do 2 little short ones, you know? So you have more than just 2 rhyming sounds within the couplet. Now you have 3. So like 2 short ones and then a regular length. So it'd be like 25, 25, 50. These are just approximations. They're not exact. So for that, be like, if this is incense, then you'd be like, my flow is intense with the lyrics I invent, and my freestyle's lit like the incense. So 2 little short ones and then the long one. So you can experiment with that. Or 4 short ones, like for water, lead you to the slaughter. For me, it's no bother. You know the Mack, gotcha. My flow is straight water. 4 rhyming sounds within the space of 2 bars, right? So it's like 25, 25, 25, 25. So that would be my suggestion, man. Start like getting outside of the box now. But what I really respect, though, is when you start doing that, you will have earned the right to do it. And I say that hesitantly because it sounds kind of elitist and like gatekeeperish. Like you can go about freestyling any way that you want. To anybody out there that's trying to learn how to do it, like go for it. You know, the world is yours. Like Nas said, it's true. Like any way that you come at it is valid if it works for you and you feel fulfilled by it. In my personal philosophy, it's like you learn the foundational rules and then you start stretching outside of them, right? It's like learn the rules and then start breaking the rules. To me, that's a really awesome way to go about it because, again, like you build trust with your audience by showing them. It's like, I understand the basic building blocks of how freestyling works, you know? And once you've done that, then when you start stretching out and trying these other things, you're doing it in a controlled way where you really understand what's happening. You know, you understand that you're stretching outside of the norm and doing something different, and you can do it with intentionality instead of just like accidentally doing strange and unusual things because you don't yet have full command of the instrument, if that makes sense. So that's how I think about it. So I think shout out to Josh B, killing it with the basics and now ready to expand beyond.
Love a good car freestyle. It's such a classic spot for a freestyle.
Yes, dude. Yes. And again, it's a callback to the first question. My first semi-viral video was me freestyling in the car. So I love it.
Hell yeah.
Just be careful. I saw you checking your blind spot. At one point, I was like, oh, shit. You might have to pause the flow for this, but you did it. But yeah, be careful out there. Disclaimer, you know, don't try anything too complicated while you're operating heavy machinery.